Call this meeting to order. Sorry to get a little bit of a late start tonight. We were holding an appeal hearing for one of our local businesses. It ran a little bit long. My name's John Howard. I'm the mayor of the city of Monroe, and welcome you to our council meeting tonight for March 13th. I will go ahead and start by saying that all council members are present with the exception of Mr. Garrett, who is representing us at the National League of Cities meeting in Washington, D.C. tonight. Getting started, I've asked my friend Pat Merchant from St. Albans to give the invocation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I work across the street. You may have seen as you turned in. And this is not a Bible, it's a prayer book. And Episcopalians love their prayer book. And I asked John if he wanted a 15 or 20-minute prayer.
And I said 30.
He said, ha, 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 LOL. So here's a great short prayer. Let us pray. Almighty God, send down upon those who hold office in this city of Monroe the spirit of wisdom, charity, and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Well said. Thank you. Pat is from St. Albans, literally right across the street from our parking lot. Need a motion, please, to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Larry Bradley.
Second.
Second, Mr. Ross Bradley. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Signify by saying aye. Thank you. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. The agenda's been approved. The approval of consent agenda, letters A through N, we have discussed. Need a motion for approval of the consent agenda, please.
Move to approve, Mayor.
Mr. Adcock.
Second.
And second, Mr. Nathan Little. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Tonight we have one person signed up for public comment. Ms. Smith. Thank you for coming, ma'am. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. I'm Geraldine Brewer Smith, and this is what I want to say. It's going to be kind of lengthy, but I'm going to try and shorten it, okay? There should be a crackdown on store owners that are in the closet that is prejudiced and racist. Because I have been in some of these stores around here, and I have been talked to any kind of way, mistreated, followed around in the store like I'm a steal. That doesn't necessarily mean all black people steal. Go to court sometimes and watch who's in front of the judge. White people. I ain't crazy, y'all. Okay. Homeowners and business owners, they should cut back or cut down bushes, trees, or flowers that is overgrown over the sidewalks. There should be sidewalks that should be fixed or replaced. And as for Chevron over on Church Street, across from Chestnut, you watch them, because they will cheat you out your money. Because I went over there about a week and a half ago and bought a stamp. And a postage stamp is 50 cents. They charged me 20 cents extra for the postage stamp. And then they want to laugh at me like, oh, it's a joke, and trying to rush me out the store when I was asking why they was cheating me out of my money. And one or two more stores done tried to run game over on me too. And I did write a letter about certain stores doing certain things to me. So if y'all would like a copy or whatever, I'll give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And to keep you in the loop, we do have a sidewalk review that is believe is starting this week, taking a look at all of the sidewalks in the city. Thank you for your comment. I have a public hearing for rezone at 406 East Spring Street. Mr. Kelly?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. The format's a little bit different on the agenda tonight, so I don't know exactly what part to address here before we go to the new business that has the same items listed in there. I guess I'll just give my normal presentation of the application, and we'll go from there.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The applicant, Peter T. McReynolds, is applying for a rezone at 406 East Spring Street. He wants to rezone from M1 to B3. Total acreage of the lot is just over a quarter acre at .26. Proposed use is commercial, but it's going to be kind of a live-work, lofts above commercial, basically. And he can speak to that more if you have questions as to what his actual plan is. The recommendation of planning and zoning and the code office staff is for approval. And if you want, I'll read the litany of information there as well at this point.
If you don't mind, just
No,
give
I'm
us
happy
the
to. I
synopsis
just want
of
to
the
make sure we
litany.
put it in the right part of the meeting.
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. So as we said, the applicant, Peter T. McReynolds, requests a rezone of property located at 406 East Spring Street. Property has 80 feet of road frontage on East Spring Street. The property consists of .26 acres. Our recommendation, as I said earlier. The property is presently zoned M1, requested zoning classification B3. The requested zoning will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby properties. The change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing adjacent properties. Subject property does have restricted economic use as currently zoned. The change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools. The future land use plan indicates the property should be public institutional, which that probably needs to be updated as well. There are no recommended conditions, and again, our recommendation is for approval.
Great, thank you. Meeting's now open for public input. Mr. McReynolds, did you have anything you'd like to say?
Good evening.
You may talk for up to 10 minutes. So
Wow, okay.
Speak slowly.
No, not much more than what we talked about last week. It's a property that's been through multiple owners, has sat abandoned for a while, has gone through multiple different uses over the years from, an optometrist was there at one point, a clothing boutique, somebody used it for storage for their contracting business. So we're just excited to start hammering some nails and bring some new life into the property. We're working with an architect out of Athens, hopefully with a really attractive design, something that we can be proud of and just add some character to that part of the downtown. Talking to pretty at depth with a tenant that would be moving their business from Atlanta, and they would be selling their property in Atlanta and actually living in the loft above the business. So we're just excited about the possibilities to bring some life to that building. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Any comments?
Comment. It already looks wonderful.
Try.
It's amazing just what you've
paint.
done just with the cleanup around it. It's great.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak in favor? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak against the rezone? Hearing none, we'll get back to it in just a second.
All right.
We'll go with the hearing for the next rezone, and then we'll vote in the next session.
Thanks.
That'll go under new business for the council. Yes, sir, Mr. Kelly, rezone 1020 North Broad Street.
That's correct. Petition number 18-0000020. ATF Enterprises, the applicant Saeed Farouk with ATF Enterprise LLC request a rezone of property located at 1020 North Broad Street. The project has 147.71 feet of road frontage on North Broad Street and consists of 1.18 acres. The recommendation of the Code Department is for approval. The property is presently zoned B2. The requested zoning classification is B3. The requested zoning will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby properties. Change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing and adjacent properties. Subject property does have restricted economic use as currently zoned. Change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation, facilities, utilities, or schools, and the future land use plan indicates that the property should be residential, but that was just a historic reference from the future land use plan as it was used as residential before.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Kelly?
I have just a question on age. The future land use plan recommends that be residential out there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
But you're recommending, along with the planning commission, that it be commercial.
That's correct. It is commercial at this time. The reason why it's listed as residential on the future land use plan is simply because in 2006, I believe, our plan goes through 2026. Northeast Georgia Regional Commission helped us make that map, and like I said, it was historically a residential piece, and it needs to be updated. We'll be continuing to do that with zoning map updates and comprehensive plan update.
Okay, thank you.
It is surrounded by B3 and B2.
That's correct. And just to make
On
this point,
that side of the road, anyway.
right? And just to make this point, that the B3 is more appropriate zoning because that's the highway business corridor zoning, and that is a highway business corridor. So
How does that, taking into consideration the corridor overlay district, no parking in the front?
well, there's limited, but yeah, anything that goes there will be required to comply with the CDO requirements that are listed in section 643 of the zoning ordinance. They require some aesthetic upgrades, less front-loaded parking, but they do allow for some with single aisle access and the rest side and rear with some aesthetic upgrades and landscaping and buffering and things like that for anything that is required for screening and buffering. But since how it's not adjacent to any currently residential zone property that's developed, they probably wouldn't have to do that at this time.
Okay. Do we have anyone here to speak in favor of that rezone? Yes, sir. Your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Farooq J. Khan, and
I'm sorry, can you spell that for me?
my first name is Farooq, F-A-R-R-U-K-H. Last name is Khan, K-H-A-N.
Okay.
And we try to do car sale business over there. That's why we need for the rezoning. Right now we have B2, but we try to do B3.
Okay.
So we can do some business.
Okay. You do realize that were this to be approved, we have an overlay district, corridor overlay district that requires some special circumstances of the way that needs to be treated. You just can't throw a big car lot out in front. You have a lot of screening requirements and minimal front-loaded parking requirements.
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak against that particular change in the zone? Hearing none, we'll declare that portion closed, and we'll move to new business. Is that correct?
You have one more public hearing on the zoning text amendments, Mayor.
Oh, I was missing something.
That would simply be for the purpose of opening up for the public hearing anyone to speak in favor or against the proposed zoning ordinance amendments that Mr. Kelly's brought forth.
Thank you. I just found it. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, sir. As we discussed last week in the work session, we regularly assess the zoning ordinance to make corrections and make it clearer. So this zoning ordinance text amendment addresses sign setbacks, residential floor area, inconsistent sign regulations, and the minimum single-family residential standards for R2 zoning, and also allowing emergency.
Patrick, they can't hear in the back.
Okay. Allowing emergency management services in this zone as they've been historically allowed there in the past before this new zoning ordinance, and that's where they exist now, so we wanted to make them a permitted use rather than a conditional use. If you have any questions or if you want to go through them again one by one, we can. Had a lot of questions last week, so I'm pretty sure everybody's clear. We did also remove the consideration of the animal portion, and that will be back before you next month.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Kelly? Any comments? Now, we'll close that portion of the meeting, and we'll move into new business. It's a different structure than...
Mayor, point of order, I'm sorry. You need to open it up to the floor for public hearing. See if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor or against the proposed zoning text amendment.
Thank you. A little confusion on my end tonight. Is there anybody in our public who would like to speak in favor or opposed to the text amendments that Mr. Kelly just discussed? Thank you. Hearing none, we'll declare that portion of the meeting closed. Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. We'll move to new business, the rezone at 406 East Spring Street. This will be for discussion of the council only. Do we have any questions or comments about the rezone at 406 East Spring?
I move approval of the rezone request.
Second.
Approval by Mr. Larry Bradley and second by Mr. Dickinson. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 406 East Spring Street has been rezoned. And we appreciate you coming in, Mr. McReynolds. Thank you. Moving to the rezone of 1020 North Broad Street. Again, for council only. Any questions or comments about moving that from B2 to B3?
I understand about moving it from B2 to B3. My question is if he is planning to put a car lot there, what are the requirements going to be because it is in the overlay corridor?
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
It'd be difficult to go over the entire section 643 of the corridor overlay district until we see some sort of plan from them. And also outdoor storage, car lots, things like that may have a carve out for storage of inventory because that's historically a roadside storage. But it would be limited. There would be aesthetic upgrades as far as what sort of materials could be used on the building. Have to be brick, stone, limited stucco, limited glass, a little bit.
But there is a brick building there. There's a house.
That house is not on this particular lot. It's on the lot next door.
And what is that zone where the house is?
The house is...
Because the cleanup's going on all around there.
Yeah, I believe that one is presently zoned B3, but I didn't look at that exactly.
Okay.
I can look at the
assumed
zoning
it
map.
was that where the house was when I rode by.
Yeah, it's a piece between the house and the
And the
gas
station. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But yeah, there would be upgraded requirements based on that, including landscaping and aesthetics.
Okay.
And the reason I wanted to mention that and emphasize that's going to be something that takes place and something that we would need to definitely keep an eye on, because when the Planning Commission has final say after it changes classifications, that doesn't come back to us for...
They would have final say on the CDO as far as the design parameters meeting that requirement. That's correct.
Okay.
But Mr. Khan and I have had numerous conversations before this, and it has been referenced in every one of them that those requirements will be applied.
Great, thank you. Are there any additional comments or questions for Mr. Kelly or Mr. Khan?
I'd like to see a plan before we move forward with this rezone, because we're just willing, we're just gonna rezone and then, we put a car lot right there.
I understand. The biggest reason why we don't have a plan right now is because it's just one of the many possible uses that could go there. It's the one that he considers best use at this time, but he hasn't designed it or engineered it. It's just a piece of land, and,
Right.
and he wants to rezone it to a more appropriate category for its location. The fact that that's the use that he's chosen to look at, I really couldn't take that into consideration because it's allowed use in that category, and he hasn't gotten that far in the process yet.
So
He
there
may-
is no proposed use of the land at this point?
Sir?
Is that correct? There's no proposed use of the property at this point?
No, he just wants to be able to have that category as one of the potential uses, and that's the one he is looking at. But again, the development, the cost, the compliance with the CDO requirements may put that out of reach, and he might have to rethink that. But that's all stuff that'll have to be done after he can move forward with his plans, knowing that he has that as a possible potential use.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, you may.
You guys talking about next door property? So we bought that property too. So after that, we can decide what we have to do. Which one you already saw that, we cleaned those lot.
It looks nice.
So it's gonna be, we're gonna go everything by the law and what the requirement for the city, we're gonna take care of this. So I like to bring this in your attention, we bought those property.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. I appreciate your comments. Do I have a motion to approve or deny the rezone?
Can I ask Mr. Khan?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that where the house is that already zone B3?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to make sure, okay.
Okay, I would be willing to accept a motion to approve, a motion to deny, or a motion to table until we can get a little bit more information from Mr. Khan.
Just clarify, that where the convenience store is that B3?
Yes.
So the property on both sides of this is already B3, is that correct? All the adjoining property?
There is one adjacent property that was rezoned some time ago that is R1A. That was for a fairly large neighborhood that never developed. It's still zoned R1A between this property and the gas station.
Oh, so this property does not adjoin the gas station property?
No.
But it's a very small
Must
entrance,
be
right?
small.
It's not a very big parcel frontage-wise.
Minimum frontage for an entrance.
So 150 feet
Yeah.
of frontage, okay. And all of the Rowell property right on down is zone B3, right?
Yes,
Zone
ma'am.
vacant land?
Yes.
Okay.
Comments, questions, motions? Hearing no quick motion to approve or deny, I would accept a motion to table it, and we can revisit this with more plans from Mr. Khan.
I don't really have a problem making a motion to approve, considering all of the surrounding area and the highway corridor.
I agree, I second that motion.
I have a motion to approve by Ms. Malcolm and a second by Mr. Larry Bradley.
As long as it conforms to the plans he brings forward conforms to our overlay district.
A motion with
That
confirmed
added,
confirmation that you'll work closely with Mr. Kelly in the corridor overlay district. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That will be rezoned from B2 to B3. And we appreciate your coming in. Yes, sir. First reading of the zoning ordinance code text amendment, Mr. Rosenthal.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the matter that you just had your public hearing on that Mr. Kelly's spoken to you about. I'll just read this briefly for our first reading. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of City of Monroe, Georgia. The Mayor and Council of City of Monroe, Georgia hereby ordain as follows. The zoning ordinance of City of Monroe, officially adopted June 10, 2014, effective July 1, 2014, is thereafter amended, is hereby amended by implementing the text amendments and changes outlined and identified in particular detail on Exhibit A, which such exhibit is incorporated herein by reference. Exhibit A, which is Amendment 4 to our zoning ordinance, Item 1, Section 1250.2, Sub 3, Sub 6, and 1250.2, Sub 1, Sub D. The sign setbacks from right-of-way is changed to 0. Item 2, Article 7, Section 700.1, Table 11, building ground floor square footage is changed to read building floor area. Item 3, Section 1250.2, non-residential, remove Item 2, Sub C and D. Item number 4, Section 700.1, Table 11, add Note 7 under R2, lot area, minimum 1, Note 7. Minimum lot size for single-family homes shall comply with the requirements for R1A district. And Item 5, Article 6, Section 630.3, Table 8, Industrial Zoning District Land Use Regulations, Utility and Area Service Provider Facilities, Emergency Management Services, Fire, Police, Ambulance, changed from C, conditional, to P, permitted. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. These text amendments of the City of Monroe zoning ordinance shall take effect upon their adoption by the Mayor and Council. This constitutes the first reading, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Rosenthal? Hearing none, we'll move to Resolution 4, Georgia Cities Week, April 22nd through 28th. Mr. Rosenthal?
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution of the City of Monroe recognizing Georgia Cities Week, April 22nd to 28, 2018, and encouraging all citizens to support the celebration and corresponding activities. Whereas city government is the closest to most citizens and the one with the most direct daily impact upon its residents, and whereas city government is administered for and by its citizens and is dependent upon public commitment to and understanding of its many responsibilities, and whereas city government officials and employees share the responsibility to pass along their understanding of public services and their benefits, and whereas Georgia Cities Week is a very important time to recognize the important role played by city government in our lives, and whereas this week offers an important opportunity to spread the word to all the citizens of Georgia that they can shape and influence this branch of government which is closest to the people, and whereas the Georgia Municipal Association and its member cities have joined together to teach students and other citizens about municipal government through a variety of different projects and information, and whereas the Georgia Cities Week offers an important opportunity to convey to all the citizens of Georgia that they can shape and influence government through their civic involvement, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Monroe declares April 22nd through 28th of 2018 as Georgia Cities Week. Be it further resolved that the City of Monroe encourages all citizens, city government officials, and employees to do everything possible to ensure that this week is recognized and celebrated accordingly. This constitutes the resolution 13th of March, 2018. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenthal. Any questions? I do want to point out, speaking of good citizenship, we have a group of Boy Scouts here representing Troop 705. Came in to see government in action. Gentlemen and the ladies who brought them, thank you so much for coming. That being said, I need a motion to...
I move the resolution be adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And thank you for my little side note. Now I need a motion to adjourn, please.
So move.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you for coming.